This video is sponsored by the Coldest Water. Yes, they make bottles to keep your water really cold, as the name suggests, but don't be fooled. It's great for coffee or hot tea or whatever too. They keep your drinks warm for up to 13 hours. So hot or cold, these are going to be some of the best bottles on the market that you can buy. They're reusable, they look great, and they perform really well. So check them out, link in the description, and use the code to get 10% off. In this video, I'm reviewing the GMAX Ultra electric scooter from GOTRAX, and there are a lot of improvements built into this bit of kit beyond the previous GOTRAX scooters I've reviewed. There's a lot to like here and some really slick features, but there are some drawbacks. So let's take a look step by step and see how this scooter performs in the real world. First, let's talk range test, because I know for many of you that is the most important factor when you choose an electric scooter. And if you're looking at this review, you're probably really interested in range, because this is rated for a whopping 45 miles of riding distance. 66 pounds. I actually did notice this until I was editing the video, but there's a typo on their site. It is reported accurately elsewhere. So this is not 66 pounds, rest assured. This is a 36-pound scooter. However, it is only rated for a 220-pound rider. And I myself, to give you a bit of perspective, between 214, 215, maybe 216 pounds. So when I ride this and do a range test, I really am at the limit of how heavy you can be and safely ride this scooter. The battery is pretty substantial at 17.5 amp hours. And well, it shows in the range. I did get a substantial range out of this, but it was way under 45 miles. So I'll just cut to the chase. I got 17.3 miles of range. I'm out riding in mid 50s temperature, so not particularly hot or cold. Pretty standard city streets with, again, just a couple percent grade increase. Not substantial hill climbs. I am riding it pretty close to the top speed most of the time, so I'm definitely not range maxing. At this price point, I'm quite satisfied with this range. However, it is disappointing that it is, let's face it, less than half of the published range distance. But of course, literally your mileage will vary depending on your weight as a rider. Build quality is one of those things that I think is pretty easy to overlook on an electric scooter review, but let's face it, you're standing on a narrow piece of metal, flying through the street, basically unprotected. Yes, you should be wearing a helmet. No, I normally don't wear helmets in my reviews, but I do wear them when I ride it normally, and I'd really recommend you do too. But the point is, when you ride these electric scooters, you're putting a lot of faith in a product. You're putting faith in it to keep going smoothly and in a straight line and be stable. This scooter is very well built. It's very stable. This thing is rock solid, basically to a fault. It's a heavy scooter at 36 pounds. Yes, I know there are far heavier, but we're not talking a Dualtron or something like that. We're talking about a 350 watt motor. So the power to weight ratio is not great, but the upside of that is this is built very, very nicely. The rubber compound foot decking has a really nice grip to it, so you will feel stable when you're standing on it. And you don't have the active suspension, which I would like to start to see at an electric scooter at this price. But you do have extra large 10-inch tires, air-filled, so you can take a little air out of them, get a softer ride. I never felt like the ride was particularly rigid, even though there isn't the suspension system in play. Also, the braking is fantastic. The brake disc is big. It's about double the surface area of the brake disc from the XR Ultra, which was the other GOTRAX scooter I reviewed. And the XR Ultra had a pretty good brake time or stopping distance. So I felt like the brakes on the XR were performant, were perfectly fine, but this brake is really, really good. And I believe it's integrated with the taillight. So when you're riding and you hit that mechanical brake, it will turn on your taillight, which might seem obvious. Of course your brake's gonna activate the brake light, but on some scooters, mechanical brakes like this don't, only the electronic brake does. But here the mechanical brake does work with the taillight, which was nice. I found the kickstand really solid, which again, it's a minor thing, but I've had some scooters where the kickstands are just not quite substantial, heavy, or long enough to feel really stable when the scooter is locked down. And then when you fold the scooter down and you lock the tiller in place, it's very rock solid. It's very heavy to carry. I don't recommend that you commute with this necessarily if you're having to put this scooter up in like on a bus or a subway or something, you're going to find carrying this around a little bit tedious, but it is a very nice looking scooter. One more thing on build quality, this is a very, very quiet scooter. I'm used to riding electric scooters that put out some noise. This thing is almost completely silent. When you accelerate, you barely hear the motor. It's a very consistent whirring sound. You don't get the grinding sound that you get from the ET Wow scooters, for example. It's smooth, it's consistent, it's got great noise dampening, which just add to the feeling of it being, a premium scooter. Next, let's talk about performance. And this isn't a high performance scooter, and I don't think it's designed to be. This is meant to be a long range commuter scooter. This would be like something I would recommend for someone who, is really concerned about safety on a scooter, but they still want to get up on an electric scooter and get some speed. It is capped almost 5 miles an hour faster than a typical GOTRAX, so you are getting some extra speed, but it is still only a 350 watt consistent output motor. I know it can spike higher than that, but we're not talking, tons of power here, but it does comfortably get to 20 miles per hour. The issue seemed to be with the electronics in this scooter. I was not able to consistently hit 20 mph. There were times when I'd be riding flat out on, straight level ground, and I would get to like 15, 16, 17, maybe 18. The LED readout would flash, and then my speed would just taper off. And that would be it. I would be at 17 miles an hour, 18. And, I'd have to slow down and speed back up, and then maybe I'd hit 20. And this did happen quite a few times. I don't know why. I know there are a lot of protections built into this scooter to protect the motor, to protect the battery, and I appreciate those things because you want these scooters to last for a really long time to come. But this is a brand new unit. I was riding 17 miles over a period of 2 days, basically, so I'm not doing it all at once. And I just can't imagine I was in a situation where the motor would really be overheating and it would need to further govern itself below 20. But it not being able to always hit 20 mile an hour, I found kind of frustrating. But the other element of performance is the braking performance. I know I already touched on it, but the brakes are really good. I bet they could have not upgraded the brake from the XR Ultra. Yes, this is a heavier scooter, but it's got similar power to the XR Ultra. I could slam on that brake and stop it almost as quickly as I want. I actually squealed rubber on a road because I stopped so hard, and I was just burning that rubber while I was coming to a stop because it truly does lock up the wheel. The braking rotor is huge. You get all that surface area. So braking performance is off the charts. The speed performance is not great because it can't always hit 20. And then as far as steering and weaving in and out of things, you do have a nice long foot deck, but it's not going to be a super responsive ride. It's just the riding characteristics of this are going to be relaxed. If you want to go out for a stroll or you want to use this to commute to work, as long as you're not carrying it on the subway or something, then this might be a really good option. But if you're wanting a sport scooter, I just want you to know that's not what this is. So I did conduct my normal stop test that I do on these electric scooters. I couldn't record it because I couldn't reliably hit that 20 mile an hour top speed. I want to make sure I'm at top speed and then boom, slam on the brakes. How quickly can I stop? But I did do it. It wasn't an exact measurement because this was in less controlled conditions. I had to just ride around, hope I hit 20 miles an hour. Once I did, hit the stop test. But where I landed was 38.5 feet. Now, this one is tricky because, to be honest, I could have stopped sooner, which I know that sounds weird. The braking power on this is so substantial that if you bite down on it as hard as you can, you almost stop too quickly to really have a good, stable slowdown. So I stopped as quickly as I felt I could safely, i.e. this would be like a real world, the actual stopping distance you would have. But it doesn't really do justice to the stopping power. So if you just need to slow down really quickly, you can clamp that brake down and get where you need to get. But 38.5 feet was what I experienced. Sorry, I don't have it to show you guys. You guys know the electric scooter market is really competitive. So scooter manufacturers are always throwing in extra bells and whistles to try to differentiate from their competitors. And a lot of times it's a win. Sometimes these features can be gimmicky. But this scooter has a couple of features that I think are awesome. It's anti-theft protection. And I'm not sure if you guys think like I do, but when I take my scooter out, one of my top concerns is I can't just stop and park this somewhere and then keep it moving, right? I feel like I have to take the scooter in with me everywhere I go. And yes, you can buy accessory bags for your scooter and you can put bike chains in it and these other things, but it adds weight to your scooter. It's just one more thing to have to carry. This has an integrated anti-theft cable that is actually buried in the tiller. You pull it out of the tiller, you wrap it around your bike rack or wherever you want to lock this up, and you plug it back in to the mechanism, change your password, and you locked it. So you have a physical protection. Could you cut through this cable with a bolt cutter? Yeah, I'm sure you could, but it's a really nice, simple deterrent that's built into the scooter. It adds no extra hassle or weight. It's actually really, really slick. I'm a big fan. I think this should be in every electric scooter. I don't know how much extra it costs to build this in, but it's awesome. Additionally, and I love that it has both, every time you turn the scooter on, you do have to put in a PIN, a 3-digit code. And until the PIN matches and you've plugged in the right PIN password, you can't ride this scooter. It's a paperweight. So yes, somebody could steal it and strip it for parts, but they can't actually ride it. And they certainly can't ride it away when they take it. And this is a pretty heavy scooter, so picking it up and carrying it's kind of a hassle. But I love that they did both, because electric isn't enough. If somebody just wants to steal this for parts, like I mentioned, you can do that. The fact that it won't engage and you can't ride it isn't really the point. It's a deterrent, but it's not enough. But it also has the physical deterrent with that built-in cable. So if you want a scooter with absolute top-of-the-line anti-theft protections, this is it. Do I recommend the GMAX Ultra from GOTRAX? And who do I recommend it to? Yes, I can recommend the scooter, but I can only recommend it to specific people. If you want a sport scooter, this one's not for you at all. I wouldn't bother looking at it. For $800, there are much better sport scooter options. I'm only saying that because I'm kind of someone who likes that kind of scooter myself. If you want a nice, solidly built commuter scooter, you're not getting on and off other forms of transportation like buses or subways, then this is going to be a great option for you. It's got pretty much top of the line range. It's very solid. I have every expectation this scooter will last for a long time. A lot of those electronic protections that may have annoyed me because I'm not hitting my top 20-mile-an-hour speed all the time, they do give me confidence that this scooter will last long into the future. It's just a rock solid scooter that you can easily commute to lunch or you can easily commute to work, lock it in place where you go, and go about your day. And for that kind of buyer, if that's what you're looking for, then this is going to be a scooter I recommend. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I will put a link below. So if you do decide you want to buy this, you'll be able to do that. And let me know if you guys have any questions about this scooter in your comments, and I'll do my best to answer any questions you might have. Thanks for watching. Do make sure you subscribe to Unqualified Critics. Make sure you hit and enable all notifications. Hit that like button, and I'll talk to you soon.